All right, good morning. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Market's been open here for about 2 hours. Interesting open. We saw last night, we saw a little bit of sell into the close yesterday, and not a ton, but a little bit. And then, a little bit of rally, just right after the close, and then drift on down, to retest the lows from, that sell yesterday, and dribbled around this level, and then got this kind of rally as Europe was opening. And then we got news that U.S. President Trump and Chinese Premier were not going to meet here this month. They're most likely going to meet at the end of next month. And we saw futures drop here about, 13, 14 points? Okay. And then, then it was the analyst train. And it was just, an analyst train of upgrade. Let's upgrade Apple. We're going to upgrade MasterCard. We're going to upgrade Visa. We're going to upgrade Hilton. We're going to go and upgrade everything. Everybody gets an upgrade today. And pre-market futures rebound and rally. Then the reality of the market open comes, and we see them tick on down a little bit. And then the rest of the day here so far has been pretty darn flat. We saw this one kind of drop after some of the economic data, and, we've kind of rebounded right back to it. So the market's pretty much sitting at yesterday's kind of where it was after that sell, right? There's just not a lot into it, not a lot of teeth in the market here. I mentioned earlier that if, these lows get breached, that, we could be in for quite a slide. And I watched these lows get breached, and they got breached, fairly quickly, fairly swiftly. But you see the quick snapback off of that, just tells me that that's more of a stop hunters. Stop hunters got dinged out. Those that put stops in there just got blown away, and then, boom, up the other way. And that's all that was. And so, now where things sit, just, not a whole lot of change, right? I mentioned for the challenge, I have Home Depot, and I'll look to add some stuff that breaks yesterday's lows. And we don't have a lot of that. Now, there's just not a lot of that out there. You go and you take a look at even the indexes, the IWM, for instance, here. Let's see if that'll come up here for me, right? It broke yesterday's lows fairly early. Here this morning, so that has some of that impetus in it, or that reasoning in it to go and to short. It's one of the few. The SPY isn't doing the same thing. The SPY has not broken yesterday's lows. The Qs, right? They haven't broken yesterday's lows, so it's just one index out of many doing a different thing. That's it, right? So. Okay, how aggressive do I want to be there? Not very, not very. I look at things like a U.S. Steel. Gapped on down, broke yesterday's low. I was in a beautiful position. Went out, priced out the options. I might be in it by the end of the day. It's my favorite setup on the board, and from a just pure technical standpoint, and it's one where I could just use kind of today's high, this kind of 2026, 2030 level as a good stopping point, but it has that action in it. But most things don't. Most things, just are gravitating on higher. Here's a Visa, here's a MasterCard. Both these were upgraded today. Price target raises on them. Apple, for instance, but even those that weren't, in the analyst crosshairs today, a Microsoft, for instance, not breaking yesterday's lows. We saw Adobe with a big reversal yesterday. It was up $6 at one point, reversed all the way back down. It broke yesterday's lows early, but hasn't sat below those, for any real length of time here today. So, despite yesterday's big reversal, it's not even really breaking here. So, we see a little bit of this kind of breakdown with, with some of these, tariff names, the Alcoas, the U.S. Steels, those types of things. But outside of that, not a whole lot. Just not a whole lot there. The Bulls kind of still have some of that real short-term action going for them overall. If you look at something like the Bullish Percent Index, no real change in it here today. One thing where there is some nice change here today is in gold. Big gap down here in gold. We've been talking about gold over the last several days. Long term, I'm very bullish. Wasn't willing to buy into it short term as it was just not in a good risk reward position. A big gap down here today. Now starts to put it into a little bit of a different type of position to look at, to analyze and say, okay, do I get a chance to go and play it higher? Especially with something like the gold miners. I'm not going to play it higher on a day like today with a big gap down like this. The gap's just too big for me to want to play, for me to want to step into it. Generally, a gap down like this is going to take a few days to wear off and to, see buyers come and step back in. But now, okay, now I can kind of take a look at my hourly chart on gold and say, okay, when do I start to get some action that's worth buying? Here's the GDX hourly. If we throw a retracement on here, we're finally coming out of that overbought position. We throw a retracement on here. All right, it's still got a little bit lower to get to the full retracement. Wow, magically, the full retracement is right down here near the lower Bollinger Band. Okay. You know what? We get down there, I might be a little interested in putting on a little bit of a position and saying, all right, maybe I can step in and buy it right here. But most likely for me, I'll be waiting for it to kind of stabilize here and then move back above the 7-hour moving average. And, we'll be looking at that. I have to understand that when there's a gap down of this size, the path of least resistance in the short term is lower. So it still may need 2, 3, 4, 5 days to really kind of sort itself out a little bit, and we may need Brexit to sort itself out, just a little bit when it comes down to it. So, we'll be looking for that. We have a small pop in the U.S. dollar here today, small drop in the euro here today, but the moving gold's a little more outsized than what we have seen here of late. Oil, this is one where I'm not willing to buy the breakout. I am willing to short it if the breakout fails. There's no sign that the breakout's failing. Yes, oil's flat today, but no sign the breakout's failing. We are seeing some heavy put action in some of these oil laggards like Anadarko today. Some very heavy put action coming into this stock. This is one that, let's face it, this pattern almost always goes to new lows. Here we have this just kind of, lower high, lower high, lower high. We have two kind of bounce points, and all right, we consolidate, we get to a, higher or lower high, and, after a little rebound, it tends to have the breakdown, into a new low. It's just a matter of when, and we see the option market really priming for that breakdown. I think Halliburton's going to have, similar action where it breaks into some new lows here. But as I've talked about Halliburton over the last few days, this isn't the type of action that just, you go, oh, okay, it's broken now, let's go. It's the type of action where, flip a coin, it'll be up or down a little bit, in the next few days. And so you can be patient and wait for, the lows of the prior day to break. And, so far for me, they haven't. So, not too interested in setting up a position in the space right here, right now. But National Oilwell Varco, it's going to a new low. You take a look at Transocean. RIG, this is one that has a very good chance of going to a new low. Now, this is a lot more heavily shorted, so it's one that, little bit of positive news is always going to drive a little more short squeeze action on it. But, if you're looking for a stock that could go to zero within this space, RIG is probably one of your best candidates out there. Noble Drilling probably going to a new low. Here I've talked about Conoco. I think Conoco goes and breaks some of the move up that it's had here recently. but I don't have a good entry signal, here on them just yet. And with oil itself in a little bit of a breakout mode, right? I have to kind of respect the fact that these things could bounce a little bit further. If you want to play the upside in the space, Valero actually has some decent upside signal action, associated here. You see the nice volume buy-in that it's had over since Friday. It's been very nice, when it comes to Valero. You can see 1 day up, he raised 5 days worth of selling. That's the type of action that tends to go higher. So, in that space, it's, and Valero's a little more of the refiner gasoline type, not the deep water drilling like Transocean, but some relative positives for it there. Also keep an eye on Nike. Nike was upgraded this morning, and talked about Nike yesterday, and I just don't have a bearish entry signal on it. It was upgraded this morning, and then it actually ticked lower here on the open. And I was looking at it going, all right, does it give me a chance to, get in? You can see right here it opened up with the upgrade and then just kind of sold off, with the market. And I said, I'm going to wait, let things play out a little bit. And you can see it's just kind of, been bought in, had a little bit of sustained buy-in here over the last little bit. So, still too early, to want to jump in. But a break below 85.80. Yeah, it's probably the right time to jump in and play it lower. The S&P is green as we speak, but small caps are red. China FXI is red. Brazil EWZ is red. Emerging market ETF EEM is red. So it's one where yes. The S&P is green, and it's being led by financials, and it's being led by utilities. And you can see here with the financials, Bank of America here, up another 30 cents, hitting a new high. JP Morgan, up another bunch here this morning. So, the banks definitely leading the way, along with utilities leading the way. That's that's an interesting mix, to say the least, but I don't read too much into it, bearish into it. I think to read a whole lot bearish into some of this, you need to see some sell action really start to come in. And let's face it, while some things are selling off a little bit this morning, we're not seeing this real sell action, this urgency to sell, stepping into the market just yet. So, most likely I'll continue to hold my Home Depot and continue to wait for an entry opportunity to the downside, with several other things that are on my watch list, things that we've talked about, things that, you're well aware of there. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a great one, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.